much of that money would go into the businesses, the goods and services, the things you would do, the college student wouldn't be a problem at that point. And then, of course, business would have all this money. And they'd be doing what with it? They'd be investing in making more money. They'd be investing in making more product. They'd be investing in selling more stuff, wouldn't they? And as a result, what would they do? They need to hire a lot of people. They don't want to work 60 hours a week. They're going to get some other people to work, right? Isn't that the way this has always worked in the past? Suddenly now it doesn't work that way. And that's really a problem. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Marty Kirkhoff. My wife and I own and operate Desert Thunder Arabians, a horse breeding farm in the East Valley. We got a problem. Capital has been absorbed to the extent by the federal government that it's denying capital to everybody who used to buy horses. And that's a problem for us. We haven't been able to sell a horse in 2 years.
Wow.
We're selling breedings to some of our stallions overseas in Australia, New Zealand, England, places like that, because those people recognize what we have and they have the money to do it. We don't. Our customer base has dried up. We still get a lot of inquiries. However, there's no purchases. And that is a real problem. We buy hay. We have to support those 13 horses daily. They insist on eating twice a day. Go figure.
They're not sympathetic to your problem, are they?
But yeah, that's exactly right. The root cause of all this, our economy is no longer capable of building its way out of a recession. We have exported our entire manufacturing capability to other countries. What does that do? The wages that those products generate are being paid in Japan and China and Mexico, not in the United States, depriving the businesses in this country of the capital that would have been available had those wages been paid.
And what's the cause of that? What's the cause of that, do you think?
I'm sorry?
What's the cause of that, do you think, that job?
The federal government's policies and labor union contracts. Unsustainable labor union contracts who have, by hornswoggling governments and companies, have gotten benefit packages far exceeding anything that a normal person could expect or even be worth, coupled with the government's action on policies that depress the economy instead of increasing it and allowing for growth.
That's exactly right, and in California we've experienced this even between states. A stimulus grant was given to a solar panel manufacturing company in Northern California. They were going to build a special California spec'd solar panel. They spent a year researching where to put that and so forth. That solar panel manufacturing plant's being built in Georgia to provide panels to California. They interviewed, that's right, what's wrong with Mexico? They didn't want to get that blatant about it, okay? But they interviewed the guy who's in charge, and he got the stimulus grant, right? And he got the stimulus grant. You know, we're going to alternative energy. He was on the cutting edge of what Obama wants, and Schwarzenegger. And so here it was. And he says, gosh, you know, you can't really open a plant in California anymore, even for this. The propellers, you know, for wind power, they're made in Japan and China. They're not made in the United States. This stimulus money has gone into wind farms down in Texas. Big wind farm, Boone Pickens been talking about. Big wind farms have been put up. All the manufactured stuff that's going in there, stimulus grants paid for, goes to firms that are overseas and build this stuff overseas. They'd like to build it here. I've talked to a ton of manufacturing guys. They'd like to build here, but how can I do that when? And then they'll give you a list of things they have to do if they were to open or expand a manufacturing plant, which means at the end of the bottom line of that list, I can't do that. I'm not two people, I'm one person. I can't make the product twice as expensive as it would otherwise be, which is what this all means. It's all cost. All right.
Roger, we got
I don't want to ignore these people back here either. We'll take this man and then I'll go back here. Go ahead.
Yes, Mike Davis. I had a pretty disturbing conversation with a friend of mine today who works for possibly one of the largest American corporations, still have employees here in America. And he was telling the tale of, he's not very politically active, doesn't really pay attention to any of this. He was telling a tale of how he's got enough work for at least 10 people in his group. They will not hire anyone. They won't tell him why. And he even has a position for a relative of his who's extremely qualified and is willing to take a $30,000 pay cut to take the job. They won't hire him.
Why?
They just, this is what's leading up to what I think is going to happen in the next 6 or 7 months when the health care bill hits. All these businesses are going to tell us why. There is going to be a complete stoppage of job openings. And I don't think anybody in America understands what's really coming. And the taxation is going to be tremendous from this bill, and that's going to just keep roller coasting us down the hill. Because you think the job shortage is bad now, and I really feel for every small business owner in here. It just tears me up every time I talk to a small business owner. They used to have 30 employees and now has 2. And the other thing he says is they have openings for 10 people, but they currently are working the jobs with about 6, and he's calling it, says, well, they keep saying we're really very productive. Well, when you're doing the work for 4 people with no pay increases for 5 years, you become as productive as you can because you see, you've got to do it or your job's gone. But I think the main thing that I'm getting at with this is we have to, yes, stop the spending, but we have to stop a lot of other things too. We've got to stop this health care bill. It has to be killed. It has to be repealed. We can't defund it because any of its tendrils that are left are going to destroy business growth and jobs.
It's legislative kudzu, what it is. All right, hands up over here.
Hello, my name is Vicki Murray, and I'm an Arizona native, and I've done education policy here in Arizona, but I currently do it in California. And whether you're in Arizona or California or anywhere in the United States, what I'm concerned about is the continuing encroachment and what I would consider a federal takeover of education under the guise of national standards and other policies, particularly in light of the fact when our president has promised to follow a whatever works approach to education reform. First speech right out of the gate after he was elected. What was his first action, though? He allowed Congress to kill the DC Opportunity Scholarship Program, which cost, on average, about $5,000 to $6,000 for scholarships that went to parents, not through bureaucracies. No new children can come in that program. Instead, more money is going to DC public schools, which costs as much as $29,000 a student, and barely 1 out of 10 children is functionally literate coming out of that system. So I think the more we can get our hard-earned dollars into the hands of parents to pick whatever school they think is best for their children. We have another situation now that's not really being covered in the media. The National Defense Spending Bill. They want to do a teeny-weeny scholarship program for children with disabilities of parents who serve in the military. And the National Council for Public Education is waging all-out war against a very small scholarship program. So I think the more we can get current dollars into the hands of parents, out of bureaucrats, is a very important step.
Would you agree with abolishing the Federal Department of Education? Yeah, I thought so. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Leanne Hull, and I too am a native here, and I think I'm a perfect example of what everybody is going through here in Phoenix. I've owned my own construction company for 26 years, and it was a great company for many years, and I watched my company, as we've all talked about, go from many employees down to just barely surviving. And to give you a glimpse of how bad done, just so that I can continue to keep them working for me, is I increased my deductible for my health care. I went to a $10,000 deductible because I've been really healthy. And so I didn't really think it was going to be a problem. And I ended up, right after I did that, I ended up with a problem, and I had to have major surgery on June 2nd. And I didn't have the money to cover that because business is terrible. So I had a couple of builders who did come forward, and they paid a portion of my deductible, or the hospital would not have taken me without paying a portion of that. The increased regulations on my business have been tremendous. I have to have dust permits. I have to be asbestos certified. I have had 2 energy surcharges in the last 6